So what this is year to date. It's a double calendar, and it is a very interesting one. And this one to me is one. So some of the other ones I have not traded. I can personally say I have traded this one. And again, not financial advice, but I like this test a lot. I'll leave it at that. I like this test a lot. And it's a little tricky. It's a little hairy. It looks a little scary. What it is at 3:15, every day that you have a 1 and 2 day expiration, you are going to you're going to sell two 40 delta puts, buy the same strike 2 days out, and you're going to sell one 50 delta put expiring the next day and buy one expiring 2 days out. Any questions about that layout? Because I know that's something like a ratioed type calendar. That's not something we often look at. Is there any questions about that so far? I'll restart. We're looking at 2 to 3 tests today, 1 to 5 DTE, and we'll go from there. So I'll say it again. We're selling a 1 day call that's 50 delta and buying a 2 day of the same strike. We're selling 2 of the 1 day 40 delta puts and buying 2 days at the same strike. Now, looking at that, do you guys have any questions about that as you look through that? If not, we'll keep going. Cool beans. So, as we go through it, we're going to open, like I said, at 3:15. It's year to date, and we're doing it every day that there is a 1 and 2 day expiration. And this one has really two criteria, 3 exit conditions. So we're going to exit at a 50% profit target, which is a huge profit target on this trade. And we can look at that in a second. We're going to get out win, lose, or draw at 10:15. So 45 minutes, the opening the next day. Or we're going to get out when we are 45 points past the short strike, right? And in this case, the long strike as well. But if it goes 45 points against us either direction, we're going to exit. And then we have some opening fees. That's the way we have it put on right now. And this test is ridiculous because it's starting with 5,000 and ending with a lot more. And you might think to yourself, there's no way. You're putting more or less a trade on that it only profits if it sits relatively still. But this is why the beauty of backtesting works. We can look through the trade log and see some specific cases of where we lose and what's happening in it. So, where are the losers? Well, in May, we had a loser. And if you look at it, it was at 41.15 at close. The next morning by 10 o'clock, it was at 41.69. So the call got tested. In that case, it had gone at 45 points. So it was out. This case, a small loser just because we got out at the specified time. Win, lose, or draw. Same situation. Put tested. Exit at that specified time. So those are going to be a lot of times your losses. The beauty of this trade also is if you're getting out at a certain time, you also have times where getting out at a certain time is the right thing to do. And with a 68% win rate year to date, that's pretty impressive to me, those criteria. Again, am I saying you should trade this? No. But when you're thinking, a lot of people come from the option standpoint of coming from the tasty kind of model of 45 days out. Um, Completely fine. People can do it. It's, it seems to work for a lot of people. That's awesome. And then some people go towards the 0-day strategies. Again, that's completely fine if that's your MO. But this is just an opportunity to look through at different types of strategies. And so this one is interesting. It's a very short-term strategy, but it's not 0-day. You have overnight risk, but you also have perhaps overnight reward in it. There's always gotchas either direction with this. Any questions about that test? It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous test. Just for the fun of it. Just to get crazy. Let's start that with $100,000. No, don't ever do this. Even, don't ever. Let's take a look. Let's look at Dirty Funk's double calendar here real quick. Can you guys see my screen? Oh, for some reason it didn't. Dirty Funk, for some reason that link's not working. I'll look again here in a second, if it's okay. So that's the first test. It's, again, there's some interesting things in it, and that there's some presumptions, right? Why would you not just put, if you don't think the market's going to move overnight, why would you not just put an iron fly on? Well, you could put an iron fly on, and you might get more premium, you might not. You could definitely test that. But one of the benefits of this, theoretically, would be, but because it's a calendar, because it's a time spread, you have a little bit of vega going on your side. So if there's a down move, you have that priced, it will be priced in for you, and it'll affect the price to your, for the most part, to your benefit, theoretically. Because you're selling more puts than calls, if there's a vol reduction, it works out to where you still might be profitable a couple points above it, right? Even if it goes outside the range. Whereas an iron fly or an iron condor or something like that, the tints, the edges are the edges. It quickly goes into kind of a negative situation, P&L situation, if you let it get outside of that. And with the overnight risk, there's not much you can do. With this one, same thing. There's definitely overnight risk. If we open up 100 points or open down 100 points, you're in trouble with this trade. But it does give you a little bit more wiggle room. That's my understanding of it. That's my theory of it. Let's look at, there it is. Okay. This is one of our members, DJ Dirty Funk, sir. This is his double calendar. So let's take a look at this. So he is putting on a 50 delta. Ooh, goodness gracious. Okay. 50 delta 1 day, a 50 delta 4 day, 50 delta 1 day, 50 delta 4 day. I used to do this trade actually all the time. It's interesting. I haven't seen it actually tested yet. That's wild. Opening it in the morning. Okay, so it's a Monday trade. Good. Use ZagGT, so only trade on Mondays. Allocate 50% of your capital. Profit target 20%, and you have a pretty giant win rate at that. You have some slippage and stuff like that. Let's run this again just for the sake of it. I like to see this sometimes with one contract. And then let's lower the from 1 million to 100,000 just to, yeah. So that's pretty good. I think that's a pretty good test. But it's good to see, it's good to try to knock these things down a little bit, to size, to talk through them. Are there any weaknesses that any of y'all could see in this type of test? Again, feel free to reach out in the chat or in the microphone. No worries. No, that's perfect why we do it, Dirty Funk. It's me and Matt and Rusty always are sending tests to each other to talk through them. I mean, that's part of the the journey of it. So that's just one way you learn, is thinking through it. So Pip says there's only 16 tests available. That's true. Yeah, so it's a small sample size year to date. That's not going to make a difference at all. But so one thing you could do is you could go back further. So you could say, if we want to see the madness, you could go COVID crash. So 2022, February of 2020. So still quite impressive. Not as. Oh, sorry, something didn't. It actually didn't run much different. Let's see here. Oh, I know exactly why. You can't go further back because this trade is one of those. We talked about this yesterday, actually. It's one of those trades that really the data has never been here until this year, because this trade requires you, so it uses that DTE, requires you to do a Monday, Thursday trade. It's a Monday, Thursday calendar. And apart from AM settlements, which Omega doesn't use for a multitude of reasons, the Thursday AM settlement, besides that, there's never been a Thursday expiration. So, right, exactly. There's only data to May. So that's something to keep in mind. And what does it mean to keep that in mind? Again, I want to preface options involve risk. It's not anything that we're advocating. These are just ideas, and we think of Option Omega as an idea generator. So one of the things you could take into that is to say it's a really good win rate so far this year. Since this data's been out, it's doing really well. We don't have that much data. Perhaps we don't go all in on a strategy like this. Maybe it's something that we trade, test out. Maybe we do some one lots and get our feet wet with it and see the mechanics of it and see how it works, But other than that, it looks really good. Now there's a couple. So let's do row. How does it look on Tuesday? Do you mean if you put it on? Well, flesh that out for me, because there's a couple different things you could mean by it. Do you put it on Tuesday? Would you do 1-4 at that point, or would you do 1-3? Matt, could we turn on 2 hits? Let's turn on 2 hits real quick. Open out on 2. So it'd be a 1. Racetrack. Sorry. Yeah, it lowers it a little bit, but still does pretty well.